in the chat window. Let us continue with the Mangala charan. Om Jnana-timirandasya Jnananjana-shalakaya Chakshurunmilitam yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Shri Chaitanya Manobhishtam Sthapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamahyam Dadati Swapadantikam Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Yutapad Kamalam Shri Gurun Vaishnavamscha Shri Rupam Sagrajatam Sahagana Raghunathanvitam Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadhutam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padam Sahagana Lalita Shri Vishakhanvitamscha He Krishna Karuna Sindhu Dinabandhu Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namastute Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vrishabhanu Sute Devi Pranamami Hari Priye Vancha Kalpatarubhyascha Kripa Sindhu Bhayevacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha. Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasadi Gaur Bhaktavrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Namah Padaya Krishna Presthaya Bhutale Srimate Bhakti Vedanta Swami Nityanamine Namaste Saraswate Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschatya Deshatarine Mukam Karoti Vachalam Pangum Langayate Girim Yat Kripatamaham Vande Shri Guru Dinataranam Paramananda Madhavam Shri Chaitanya Ishwaram. Hare Krishna. So like always, we will begin our sessions with the Gita Rewind quiz. So here we are sharing the quiz with all of you based on to carefully read and mark the correct answers. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. So here are the answers, what you have marked for question number 1. Why do people not accept or realize Krishna? And the correct answer is because they are bewildered by the 3 modes.
Question 2. Surrender unto Krishna, third option, guarantees freedom from material entanglement.
Krishna says that the demigod worshippers are less intelligent. Yes, that is true.
Question 4. Who doesn't surrender to Krishna? Those who are grossly foolish, knowledge stolen by illusion, atheistic nature like demons. So the correct answer is all of the above.
What is the result of worshipping Krishna with some desire for wealth? So we discussed that whoever approaches Krishna for whatever, he actually gets that. So the correct answer is attainment of their desires.
Question 6. How do the Sukritinas advance in devotional service? And the correct answer is option 2, by coming in contact with the pure devotee.
So if we remember, Sukritinas were of four categories. The one who approached the Supreme Lord. So what are those four categories mentioned in the next question? That who is the best among the ones who surrender to Krishna? So we discussed Artha, Artharthi, Jigyasu and Jnani. And the correct answer, who's the best among them, is seeker of knowledge or Jnani.
Why is Jnani the best? Well, he is free from material desires, and also he tries to engage in devotional service. So both is the correct answer.
What is very rare to attain? Now this is a little tricky one here, because I can see that there is almost a tie between option number 2 and option number 3. So the correct answer is third one, devotional service. Devotional service is very, very rare to attain. We discussed in the first section of chapter 7, where we were discussing the verse Bahunam Janmanam Ante, that after many, many lifetimes, it is so very rare to even attempt doing pure devotional service. So that is the rarest of all, and you all and we all rather are very fortunate that we have got this opportunity to actually perform pure devotional service.
Tuya Bhakti in Tamil, Kevala Bhakti, only pure devotional service. The last question, the faith of a demigod worshipper is actually built by Krishna, and Krishna says that in the verses that we discussed in the previous session, and the answer is true, option A.
So great, we will proceed with our session. So we were discussing chapter number 7. We completed till verse number 21. In the last session, we discussed in detail about who accept Krishna and who reject Krishna. We also discussed that what about those who do not worship Krishna, but they go to somebody else. So they neither accept nor reject, but they go to somebody else. So now we will continue with today's session. And in today's session, we are going to learn that how demigod worshippers are less intelligent. We will also discuss about a very unique philosophy called impersonalism. So we will discuss about impersonalists. Krishna will talk about that category of people who take to the path of impersonalism. So what is the philosophy and what is their destination?
And then Krishna has a transcendental form. So we will look at some verses which indicate that Krishna does not have a form like you and me. He may appear to be a person with a head, 2 hands, 2 legs, eyes and everything. So the form may appear similar to us, but he does not have a material form like ours. His form is transcendental. And very interestingly, Krishna will say that, Krishna will tell that how if one has a desire or one hates, then that causes illusion of the reality, and one cannot really take up the process of devotional service. And then he also discusses the ways to overcome the illusion. And finally, absolute knowledge that a devotee possesses. So that's almost towards the end of this chapter.
So let's proceed. We were in section 4. We were talking about demigod worship. We have already discussed till verse 21. So let's start with verse 22. Sataya shraddhaya yuktas tasya radhanamihate labhate cha tatah kaman mayaiva vihitan hitan. Endowed with such a faith, he endeavors to worship a particular demigod and obtains his desires. But in actuality, these benefits are bestowed by me alone. So Krishna is here telling again that how when a person has faith in a particular demigod, he starts worshipping, like in whatever form of the Lord or in whatever demigod a person has faith, that person faithfully worships that, and this demigod gives him what he wants. And then Krishna is telling the secret. What he says, but in actuality, these benefits are bestowed by me alone. So Krishna is like, Krishna is the supreme, and these demigods are like the agents or the ministers working under Krishna. So for them to give any benediction, for them to fulfill any desire, for them to give anything what their devotee asks for, actually ultimately Krishna has to sanction. So that is what Krishna is telling, that though they have faith in the demigod, but I give that faith, and here he is telling how I strengthen that faith by giving those benefits, by giving them what they are asking for.
So this is so amazing. So if a person wants to worship a particular devata because he is infested with that desire, he's so lusty, he wants that, and he doesn't really want to wait. So the faith is established by the Lord, and the result which that person receives from the devata is also arranged by the Lord. Lord takes so much of care. So this is the fact check. So fact that we need to really understand. This will actually be a game changing. These verses are game changing verses for those of us who are not able to place our faith in Krishna absolutely, completely, because we think, oh, we are worshipping this devata, we are worshipping this personality, that personality, what to do. If I don't worship them, they will feel offended. I cannot give their worship up. My family tradition is like that. Well, Krishna is explaining that here, that whatever benefits are given by devatas, they are bestowed by Krishna alone. So we really do not really have to fear anything, or we really don't have to be worried about anything. These devatas whom we worship, actually they have so much awe and reverence and regard and devotion for the Supreme Lord. So if they see that we are actually starting to worship Krishna, rather than becoming upset, they will actually become very pleased with us, and they will bless us that yes, that is the right path.
Asking for material benefit, however, is not sign of a pure devotee. So we saw that these people who are worshipping demigods, they have some material desires, and they are in such a hurry to acquire or attain those material desire that they go to the demigods. But we must always remember that if we are asking for anything material, even if we are asking it to Krishna, it's not a sign of a pure devotee. Antavattu phalam tesham tadbhavati alpamedhasham devan deva yajo yanti madbhakta yanti mamapi.
Men of small intelligence. So here this verse, 23rd verse of 7th chapter, where Krishna is calling Devata worshippers Alpa Medhasam. Men of small intelligence worship the demigods, and their fruits are limited and temporary. Those who worship the demigods go to the planets of the demigods, but my devotees ultimately reach my supreme planet. So this is very important. Krishna is not just passing some comment. He is explaining that. Krishna is giving reason why a person worshipping a devata is alpamedasha. Why? Because if I worship someone and I get something which is very temporary, which is something very limited, I want freedom from miseries, I want only happiness, but devatas are not capable of giving that. Right? So if I seek somebody's help which is very limited and temporary, then I'm not very intelligent. I should go to that personality who can give everything unlimitedly and permanent benefits. So because these people, they worship devatas and the result that they get is limited and temporary, so they are not very intelligent. And then Krishna says one more thing, Devan Deva Yajo Yanti. If we worship devata, we go to devata's abode or planet. But Mad Bhakta Yanti Mamapi. But if the devotee worships me, he comes to me, to the spiritual world. And that's how we can very clearly see the results are very, very different. If we worship devatas and if we don't, and if we worship the Supreme Lord, the results are really starkly different. Right? So the results are limited, they're temporary, and one goes to the planet of the devatas. So this is the things that on which Krishna is differentiating. So a person attains what he worships. So in case of the Supreme Lord, we see that the result that we obtain is permanent. If we approach the Lord for freedom from miseries, Krishna takes us to the spiritual world, no more misery. Right? Permanent result we get. It is unlimited because if a Devata gives anything of this material world, anything which is made up of matter, any situation that he puts us in, if he, for example, somebody prays that I want to be very wealthy and I want to be very powerful, so all the wealth and all the power in this material world is limited and temporary. So the result that Krishna gives is unlimited. He takes us to Golok Vrindavan, where for the Devatas it is not possible. They can give what they have. So their position is temporary, their powers are limited, and their abodes are in the material world. So beyond that, they cannot give.
So here is the life lesson that all paths do not lead to the same destination. So if I worship demigods, my end result is different. I do not reach Golok Vrindavan just by worshipping demigod. So we find many people who say, okay, whatever is your path, whichever way you want to worship, whomever you want to worship, ultimately it is all one. So Krishna is highlighting that it's not like that.
Yeah, there's this saying, Yatha mat tatha pat. As many there are opinions, as many there are paths. So that is bogus and that is absolutely incorrect. Krishna is rejecting that here.
Now verse number 24 and 25, where Krishna is going to talk about impersonalists. So before we get into there, let's try to understand who are these impersonalists.
So what are the impersonalist beliefs? What is a belief system? He thinks that Brahma Jyoti is supreme. That transcendental light is that is what is absolute. So that is one thing that he believes. Second thing, if you ask him about Krishna, he says Krishna is a temporary personality. He has a temporary body. His pastimes also material. And he thinks that Krishna is an ordinary human person, a human being, son of Vasudeva and Devaki, maybe a little more powerful than normal ordinary people, a very powerful king. But beyond that, they do not accept Krishna as the transcendental supreme Lord. For them, Brahma Jyoti is supreme.
Avyaktam vyaktimapannam manyante mama buddhayaha paramam bhavam ajananto mamavyayam anuttamam. So Krishna is talking about abuddhaya or unintelligent men. So for demigod worshipper, Krishna uses the word alpamedhashaha, who are less intelligent. And now he's talking about impersonalists and he is using the word abuddhaya or unintelligent men. So who are these impersonalists? Why are they unintelligent? Krishna says, unintelligent men who do not know me perfectly think that I, the Supreme Personality of Godhead Krishna, was impersonal before and have now assumed this personality. Due to their small knowledge, they do not know my higher nature, which is imperishable and supreme. So now these impersonalists are those people who believe that Krishna is not a person. Krishna does not have a form. Krishna is formless. So that is their belief system. How can God has a form? God is formless. That is what they say. Now the point is, Srila Prabhupada says that how can God not have anything which I have? So if I have a form, how can I say that if God does not have a form and I have a form, which means God is less than I am. So for God, it is very interesting and unique. Krishna has a beautiful spiritual form. So our form, as we look at each other, it is defined by the shape and size of our body. Like we tell that this person is tall or this person is short or this person is fat or this person is fair. All are the designations of the body. Why? Because we just see this body. And this body keeps changing birth after birth after birth. We change the body. We are not the body. We are that spirit soul. We already discussed in chapter 2. With Krishna, he does not have this material body. He does not have ordinary birth. He does not have ordinary death. Like how we take birth and we die and then we take birth and then we die. For Krishna and all his incarnations, it is not like that. He is transcendental, so his form is transcendental. His form is Sat, Chit and Anand. So these people who are impersonalists, they believe, they feel that Krishna is formless. And when Krishna comes to this material world, he acquires a form, just like how we get a form or a body when we come to this material world. So they believe that Krishna also acquires a body and then he gives it up. So that is why Krishna is saying that these people are less intelligent, because they do not know my reality. They do not know my higher nature. And Krishna says, what is my nature? I am imperishable and I am supreme. So I am imperishable. My body does not diminish and I am supreme. I am beyond everybody. So that is what Krishna's unique position is, which they do not understand.
Okay. Just one thing. The packet is showing here. Showing. Okay.
Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama.
Hare Krishna. So some issues with Zoom here. Okay, so this also brings us to a point where Krishna is saying that my higher nature, which is imperishable and supreme. And I remember the other day, one of our students, a small boy, was asking that he visited Krishna temple. Guruvayur.
Kerala, yeah,
And he's saying
Guruvayur.
that, I went to the
I've
big
been-
temple and when I went inside, small lady. And I was thinking, why is Krishna so small? Well, we need to understand that whether Krishna has a small form or a big form, when he just appeared to Devaki and Vasudev, he was all adorned with jewels and everything, and his body was so effulgent. And then Vasudev and Devaki, they were very afraid that Kans will know, and then he may come and attack you or whatever. Please take a form of an ordinary child. And then he was transferred, and we know when Krishna was transferred to Vrindavan, to Gokul, and then demons came and attacked. Putana came. Krishna at that time was just in the arms, so he was an infant drinking milk from Mother Yashoda. And that time, he killed Putana, whose body, after death, the body was several miles long. She was a very powerful demoness. She had many mystic siddhis. Her body was several miles long. So that's how powerful that demon was. But Krishna killed when he was just an infant. So whether Krishna is a small child, an infant, or he is that beautiful form that we see on Kurukshetra, at battlefield of Kurukshetra, his powers don't change. He's same supremely powerful personality.
So talking about the impersonalist, so that is what Krishna tells. So in this verse, he specifically tells three things about them. One, they are unintelligent. Why they are unintelligent? Because they have imperfect knowledge of Krishna. And what is that imperfection in the knowledge? So as we were discussing, that they do not believe in the personal transcendental form of the Supreme Lord. So they are unaware of Krishna's true nature. They are unaware of Krishna's transcendental nature. So this is the third category which Krishna is talking about. So first category, he spoke about those who accept him or reject him. Second category, he spoke about those people who worship demigods. And third people, he is talking about those people who though worship Krishna, but they don't think that Krishna is that beautiful cowherd boy who attracts the hearts of one and all. They have limited knowledge about Krishna. They have, and whatever knowledge they have, it is imperfect. They do not know Krishna in totality. Actually, again, we get a lot of examples to understand this impersonalism, and I would like to give one very interesting example of a train. So, for example, if we see a train coming from a distance at night, suppose you are standing and you see train coming from a distance at night, and we see that bright light which is there as a headlight or at the engine. So if we see that light and we hear the horn of the train.
Sometimes horn also, the train doesn't press horn also.
It's just the light, yeah. So it's just the light that we see. And if we see the light and we say, that's the train.
Oh, I saw it. Oh, train is light. Train is a light.
Yeah, I mean, I'm right when I say that that is train. But then train is not only light. But I may conclude that yes, that light is train. So that is one understanding. Second understanding is that train is about to come and you see the train from outside. So you see that there is a very, very long thing which is like coming on the rails, and we conclude that, okay, so this is the train. And third thing is when we actually step inside the train and we see that, okay, so there are berths where people are sleeping or resting or sitting, and then there is a toilet, and then there is an aisle where people can walk in also, and then various vendors come to the train, and there are so many activities which are happening inside the train basically. So when we get inside the train and we see all these things, that time also we know that there is a light. That time also we know that the train runs. That time also we have the idea of the length and breadth of the train. But then when we can see from inside and outside, that gives us the complete knowledge. So these impersonalists are those people who just assume that Krishna is light. They believe that that Brahma Jyoti, that formless light is Krishna. So they believe that that light is train, like that. So that is why they are unintelligent. That is why they have imperfect knowledge, and that is why they are unaware of Krishna's nature. And how can one understand Krishna? Only by devotional service. And how do I begin the devotional service? We begin devotional service by chanting Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Every morning we are so happy to see many of you join us for the Japa session from morning 6 a.m. to 8 a.m. which we do every single day. So those of you who have not yet started joining, kindly join us there. Also, as we read from this life lesson that our devotional service begin by chanting, we also read in this chapter that the rarest of rare thing is to attain devotional service, not liberation. In today's quiz also we mark that question, that devotional service is very, very rare to attain. So those of us who are attending these sessions but have not committed to a fixed number of rounds of chanting Hare Krishna Mahamantra, it is high time. What we would propose is, we are in chapter 7. You must take a vow every day, at least 7 rounds you would be chanting. So that is how we gradually progress. When we started this Bhagavad Gita, we were talking about 1 round, and then we discussed about 4 rounds. And here we are requesting you to come up, match to that level, chant 7 rounds at least. We are in the 7th chapter. That would take around 50 minutes of your time. And these 7 rounds you can split also, like 4 rounds in the morning, 3 rounds in the evening, or any other time of the day. And there are no hard and fast rule for chanting this Hare Krishna Mahamantra, but we sincerely request you kindly chant at least 7 rounds of Hare Krishna Mahamantra. Naham prakasha sarvasya yoga maya samavritaha mudhoyam nabhijanati Loko mamajamavyayam.
So here Krishna is making a very important point. He's saying, I am never manifest to the foolish and unintelligent. I am not known to them. How and why? For them, I am covered by my internal potency. Yoga Maya Samavrita. So if we look at the second line, Yoga Maya Samavrita. So Krishna, for people who are foolish and unintelligent, like the 2 categories we were previously discussing, so Krishna is hidden from them. Krishna is covered. Their eyes are covered and they are not able to see Krishna, and that is through internal potency. For them, I am covered by internal potency, and therefore they do not know that I am unborn and infallible. Krishna is saying in the last line, Loko mam ajam avyayam. He is unborn. Krishna is saying, I am unborn. I don't change bodies, unlike us. He is unborn and he is avyayam. He does not fall from his position. He is always Supreme Lord. So what is the result for the impersonalist? 1. Supreme Lord remains hidden from the foolish and the unintelligent, and Supreme Lord always remain covered by his internal potency, and therefore these people have no possibility of seeing the Bhagavan form of the Lord, the supreme form of the Lord. They do not know that Lord is unborn, ajam, and avyayam, and infallible, unborn and infallible. Infallible is an important word, and we will come across this word again and again in Bhagavad Gita. All of us are fallible, right? We are full of faults and we are full of limitations. We are limited and we are fallible. This body is fallible and nobody can help us. All of us will go through the cycle of getting old and finally dying. No doctor, no family member can stop that, right? But Lord is beyond these effects of matter. In fact, he is the controller of them. So Krishna reveals himself only to the pure devotees. He covers himself up from others. So this is very important for us to understand, because sometimes we feel, we are able to understand why others don't understand, why others don't come to the same conclusion. There are so many people who are commenting on Bhagavad Gita, but they're not able to come to this conclusion. There are so many, some Muslims, so-called scholars, they will comment on Bhagavad Gita, they will speak all nonsense, but they are not able to, for them Krishna is covered by his internal potency.
So moving to the last section of this very interesting and sweet chapter, who can become a devotee? So Krishna is going to talk about now different categories he has already discussed, and now he is going to talk about that who can actually become a devotee. Vedaham samatitani vartamanani charjuna bhavishyani cha bhutani mam tu vedana kaschana. O Arjun, as a supreme personality of Godhead, I know everything that has happened in the past, all that is happening in the present, and all things that are yet to come. I also know all living entities, but me no one knows. So now we saw in verse number 25, Krishna was talking about that how his opulence or his true self or his true nature is covered and the impersonalists don't get to see him. So now Arjun may get a doubt here, that like they can't see Krishna or they can't know Krishna, is this covering both the ways? Does Krishna also not see them? Does Krishna also not know these persons? So Krishna is clarifying here. He is saying, I know everything that has happened in the past, all that is happening in the present, and all things that are yet to come. So nothing is hidden from Krishna. Krishna knows everything. So it's like Krishna can see everything and everyone, and others may not be able to know Krishna because of their imperfections, because of their faulty philosophies. So, but Krishna can see everyone, past, present, and future. And this particular aspect of Krishna also establishes the point very, very strongly that Krishna's form is not material, or Krishna is not covered by Maya. Now, how do I forget? Why I don't remember my past birth? I mean, we can actually try doing past life regression, and people can visit their past. So there is a past for everyone. There is a past life. There are memories there. But why do I not remember them? Because I change body. Why do I change body? Because my body is material and it has a beginning and it has an end. Krishna's form is not material, and that is why Krishna is fully cognizant of past, present, and future also. The forgetfulness comes by changing the bodies, and Krishna does not change the body, and hence he is not covered by Maya. Krishna knows all the beings. One who truly knows Krishna is very, very rare. And the process of knowing Krishna is chanting Hare Krishna.
So Krishna is like sun and Maya is like cloud. So this is also a very good analogy to understand the position of the impersonalists, understand the position of non-believers who comment on Bhagavad Gita, who comment on Krishna, worshippers of other personalities other than Krishna, so who do not have faith in Krishna. So what is their situation? So we need to understand that Krishna is like sun, all revealing, bright. One can very quickly and easily know him. But Maya is like a cloud. So clouds can cover our vision. So if somebody is on earth, his vision can be covered by the clouds and he cannot see the sun. So what they will say, it's all bright. But is that brightness is coming from some, from sun or not, that they cannot actually make out. So Maya is like that cloud. So clouds can cover our vision, but clouds can never cover the sun. So similarly, this Yog Maya potency of the Lord, it covers the Lord from the vision of faithless. But Krishna can see everyone, Krishna can know everyone, but they cannot actually perceive the Supreme Lord. So can Krishna know past, present and future if his form was material? So that is one question for our contemplation. So if he had even iota of doubt that Krishna, is he really God? Then this particular verse which Krishna speaks, it should, really clarify that. Krishna is saying very, very categorically, he knows past, and this is so amazing. He knows my past. He knows your past. He knows past of all the living entities. He knows the present of all the living entities, not just in this universe, but in all the universes in this material world and the future as well. Krishna is aware of a future. We are not aware. Some of us may even go to an astrologer, how's our future? Our stars are usually, astrologers will say, this is very good, this is very good. What is bad, they may not always tell. But Krishna is already actually aware of what's going on. So it is not possible if Krishna had a material form.
Ichha dvesha samuddhena dvandva mohena bharata sarva bhutani sammoham sarge yanti parantapa. So now in this verse, Krishna is giving the reason. Krishna is explaining why people don't know him. Krishna is explaining why they get illusioned, why they do not understand Krishna as he is. So first word and second word here in this shloka, it says Ichha and Dvesh. Ichha means desire, desire for my material enjoyment, desire for my sense gratification. And second is Dvesh or hatred. So because I hate someone and I like someone, because I desire something and I dislike something. So all that causes, what does it cause? O sign of Bharat, O conqueror of the foe, all living entities are born into delusion, bewildered by dualities arisen from desire and hate. So everyone is in this dual state of mind. I like someone, I hate someone. I want something, I don't want something. So this is known as dualities of life. So sometimes I get honor, sometimes I get dishonor, sometimes I get praise, sometimes I get criticism. Again, duality of life. So I get so confused and bewildered by these dualities of life that I get into complete delusion.
Yeah, I get sucked up in that conception, and so I'm not able to focus on higher things in life.
So how does a living entity gets covered up by Maya? Because of hate and because of the desire. So these are the two reasons which stop us from doing pure devotional service. These are the two reasons which keep us away from Krishna, which does not let any sufficient desire come in our mind to serve Krishna, to worship Krishna. Because I'll give you one very simple example. The japa session is happening in the morning 6 a.m. I'm not able to wake up for that. I'm not able to attend that session. Why? Because I have so many desires which I want to fulfill the previous night. I want to watch some movie. Whatever. I want to go out for a party. I want to hang out with my friends. I want to go to the mall. All that make me so exhausted. Or I have a very heavy dinner and then I feel so bloated. I'm not able to wake up in the morning. So what is happening is these desires for material enjoyments are keeping me away from Krishna. So this is why the living entity gets covered by Maya. Neither we should be too disgusted nor attached to material life. This is favorable to performance of bhakti. So we must not get so much sucked up in this material life. So we must take it as it comes, and we must always focus towards our destination, which is attaining the lotus feet of Krishna, serving to Krishna, performing devotional service. And whatever is happening simultaneously in our life, we just let it go.
So take that middle path. As you can see in the picture, if you are too disgusted, you will fall in the left side of the lake. If you are too much attached, you will fall on the right side of the lake. All you have to do is take the middle path and just get out of this
Lake.
yeah.
येषां त्व अन्तगतं पापं जनानां पुण्यकर्मणां ते द्वन्द्वमोहनिर्मुक्ता भजन्ते मां दृढव्रताः.
Persons who have acted piously in previous lives and in this life, and whose sinful actions are completely eradicated, are freed from dualities of delusion, and they engage themselves in my service with determination. So here's something very interesting Krishna is saying, and he's giving a process. Yesham tva antagatam papam jnana jananam punya karmanam. So this is what Krishna is saying here, that people who have acted piously in previous lives and they have acted piously in this life. So what will happen is, because they have acted piously, so their sinful reactions will get reduced to some extent, because they're acting piously, so they will not act sinfully. Some amount of sinful reactions reduces. So what happens is, they move from the lower modes like Rajogun and Tamogun, they will gradually move to Sattvagun. And when they move to Sattvagun, then they'll stop acting based on this desire and hate. Right? The person who's in Rajogun, he is so intense, that my senses, I want this and I want this, and whatever is obstructing, I get angry on that. So when a person goes to Sattvagun, he becomes sober. Okay, both these things are actually not the goal of my life. So they gradually become free from this illusion. So some piety is required, and because they are in Sattvagun, they can actually value the association with devotees. They appreciate and respect devotees, and they begin to accept the instructions from the devotees. And that is the changing. That is the, I used that word earlier also, game changing. That changes the destiny of this person, because by associating with devotees, he performs devotional service. And that performance of devotional service completely destroys his sinful reactions. His past pap, what all he has done, the reactions that he has to get, all those are destroyed, and his inclination to commit sinful activities is also destroyed. So the person becomes so purified. And when all of this happens, then they become steady in their worship of Krishna. Then they become very, very steady. And that is what Krishna is saying in this Dridhavrata. They then worship me with great determination. So bhakti and its development is possible only with the association of pure devotees. So if you, in this life, take up this one principle, that I will always be guided and I will always remain in the association of pure devotees, then your life will naturally become successful. Then your bhakti will grow, bhakti will become strong, and you will become very steady in your spiritual life.
Jara marana mokshaya mam ashritya yatanti ye te brahma tad viduh krishnam adhyatmam karma chakhilam. Intelligent persons who are endeavoring for liberation from old age and death take refuge in me in devotional service. They are actually Brahma because they entirely know everything about transcendental activities. So now Krishna is talking here about those intelligent people. So what these intelligent people are doing, they are endeavoring for liberation from old age and death. So they want to get out of this cycle of birth and death. And they know the means, the ways and means also, and that is devotional service. So they start performing devotional service Why? Because this type of devotee is also actually, he has a desire. Now, what is his desire? His desire is enough of the miseries of this material world. I don't want to be born again, because whenever I take birth and then I start suffering. So they desire freedom from this cycle of birth and death. They desire liberation. So Krishna is again here, he's talking about such people whom we call Sakama Bhakta, the desire, the devotees who approach the Supreme Lord with desire. So even for this category of people, they are not desiring Krishna's pleasure so far. What they are desiring is an end of their sufferings. So so Krishna is talking about them, that they understand that they are the soul, and they understand that they take birth after birth after birth, or they keep changing bodies because of their material activities, because they understand that they have so many material desires. So they are intelligent people. They have understood. They have understood the essence that yes, this material world is a place of misery, that till the time I have any material desire, I will keep suffering, because suffering would come in one or the other form, because I am still under the clutches of these three gunas. So they understand that, and hence, because they have come to that understanding, they start endeavoring for liberation. So they desire to get spiritual forms basically. But then we understand that they are yet another type of devotee who want this miserable life to end. Sadhi bhutadi daivam mam sadhi yagyam cha ye viduhu prayana kale picha mam te vidur yukta chetasaha.
Those in full consciousness of me. Full consciousness of me, what is it? Krishna consciousness. Those in full consciousness of me who know me, the Supreme Lord, to be the governing principle of the material manifestation, of the demigods, and of all methods of sacrifice, can understand and know me, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, even at the time of death. So Krishna is saying, one, those who are in full consciousness of me and they understand three things. Adi Bhuta, if you look at the first line, Sadi Bhuta. So, Sa Adi Bhuta. So, Adi Bhuta, Adi Daivam. And in the second line, it is mentioned Adi Yagyam. So, those who understand that Krishna is the governing principle of this material world, everything is under his control. Everything works under his supervision. Adhyakshta. Krishna will talk about this in the 9th chapter. And Adi Devam, that he is the supreme personality among all the devatas. And Adi Yagyam, that of all the methods of sacrifice, they are aware that the Krishna is to be pleased. He is the Yagyapati. He is the main personality to be pleased through the prescribed sacrifices or yagyas. Then Krishna is saying, can understand and know me. Right. So if we understand these things, then actually we can understand Krishna as he is, even at the time of death. Prayana kale pichama. So who reaches Krishna's abode? Those who know Krishna is Supreme Lord, and not just some vague understanding. Right? See, Bhagavad Gita, that's why we are studying Bhagavad Gita, because I'm sure before we actually read Bhagavad Gita in detail, we may have had so many misconceptions about God, about us, who am I, about this material world, why bad things happen to good people. So many misconceptions we may have, but Bhagavad Gita, shloka by shloka, section by section, chapter by chapter, gradually Bhagavad Gita is enlightening us so that we understand this whole reality about ourselves, about the Supreme Lord, about our existence in this material world. So that is what Krishna is explaining here, that those who know Krishna's Supreme Lord as Adi Bhut, this governing principle of the material manifestation, Adi Deva, the governing principle of all the devatas, Adi Yagya, the governing principle of all methods of sacrifice, they can actually know Krishna and they can reach the abode of the Supreme Lord.
Simply by hearing and glorifying Supreme Lord, all the objectives will be fulfilled. This is called Dridhavritaha, determined faith. This is the beginning of Bhakti Yoga. So with this, we have completed chapter number 7 and getting into chapter number 8. Here we see on the screen the... Sorry, is there any difficulty? Okay, so getting into chapter number 8, here we see that there are total 28 verses. This chapter is divided into 4 sections. And the first section, the smallest one, where Arjuna is asking a lot of questions from section number 1 to 4, Arjuna's question. So this section we intend to cover today. Krishna willing, we would cover. And also we have shared the attendance link. So kindly mark your attendance. Even if you are watching at YouTube, kindly mark your attendance carefully, because when you mark the attendance, you receive an email from us also. So getting into this chapter, attaining the Supreme. Arjuna vacha kim tad brahma kim adhyatmam kim karma purushottama adi bhutam cha kim proktam adi daivam kim uchyate.
Arjuna inquired, "O my Lord, O Supreme Person, what is Brahman? What is the Self? What are fruitive activities? What is this material manifestation? And what are the demigods? Please explain this to me."
So 5 things he has asked there, and he continues. Adi yagya katham kotra dehismin madhusudana prayana kale cha katham yeyosi niyatatmabhi. So if we remember, just now we read the last verse of the 7th chapter where Krishna mentioned about Adi Bhut, Adi Daiv, Adi Bhut, Adi Yagya, 3 things, and then he uses this line there, Prayana Kale, at the time of death. So these 4 things he has mentioned there. Now Arjun is a very attentive student. Arjun's cameras are on and he is listening with rapt attention whatever is being spoken, and he's asking the questions after that. So he heard those words and he's asking questions. So he's continuing with his question. Who's the Lord of Sacrifice? Adi Yagya. Krishna mentioned Adi Yagya. So now he's asking, who's actually the Lord of Sacrifice and how does he live in the body, O Madhusudan? And how can those engaged in devotional service know you at the time of death? So all of us are trying to engage in devotional service. And I'm sure it may sound a little harsh, but all of us are going to face the time of death also. So Arjun is asking that very, very important question. How can those engaged in devotional service like you and me, how can we know Krishna at the time of death? So so these are the list of Arjuna's question. Last 2 verses of chapter 7, Lord used many technical terms. So Arjun asked for clarification of these terms and thus asked 8 questions. First, Krishna answers the first 7 questions and then discusses 8th question in detail. So how do those people who are performing devotional service, they remember Krishna at the time of death? This is the very, very interesting and important and practical application oriented chapter, because that is what Krishna is going to answer.
So these are the 8 questions about which Arjuna wants to know, because he heard these terms in the previous chapter. So what is Brahman, or the spirit soul, or the Jiva? Adhyatma, what is the nature of this living entity? Karma, what are the fruitive activities in this material world? Adi Bhut, the material manifestation. Adi Dev, the supreme demigod. Adi Yagya, the enjoyer of sacrifice. And where does Adi Yagya reside? Where is this personality? Where does it reside? And how do we remember Krishna? At the time of death. So as we heard just now, that the first 7 doubts will be answered by Krishna, clarified in these upcoming verses. And the 8th one would be discussed in the balance chapter.
8th chapter.
The balance of the 8th chapter.
Shri Bhagavan Uvacha Aksharam Brahma Paramam Svabhavodhyatmam Uchyate Bhuta Bhavodbhava Karo Visargraha Karma Samgitaha. The Supreme Personality of Godhead said, the indestructible, transcendental living entity is called Brahma. So basically Jiva, or the living entity, Krishna is describing him as Brahma. And what is his nature? He is indestructible. He cannot be destroyed. So that is what he says. And his eternal nature is called Adhyatma, the self. He is eternally existing. Actions pertaining to the development of the material bodies of the living entity is called karma or fruitive activities. So those actions which defines what type of the material body I would get. So that those actions, so the action gets us reaction, and these reactions come in the form of our next material bodies. So these activities are called karma. Adibhutam ksharo bhavah purushashchadhidaivatam adhiyagyohamevatra dehe dehabhritamvara.
O best of the embodied beings, the physical nature, which is constantly changing, is called Adibhut, the material manifestation. The universal form of the Lord, which includes all the devatas, demigods, like those of the sun and moon, are called Adidev. And I, the Supreme Lord, represented as the super soul in the heart of every embodied being, am called Adiyagya, the Lord of Sacrifice. So these are the first 7 questions which Krishna chooses to answer. So first one is the Brahman, or the indestructible living entity, which Krishna actually describes in more detail in the 2nd chapter. Adhyatma, the eternal nature of the self. Well, what is the eternal nature of the self? Is to serve the Supreme. Because there is an eternal, unbreakable relationship between the Brahman, this living entity, and the Supreme Brahman, or the Supreme Lord. Karma, activities that generate a material body for the living entity. So, this point is also, sadly, but this happens, this is a very real thing. You know, sometimes when we begin to practice devotional service, we may do a little bit of attending class, we may do a little bit of chanting, once in a while we may read something, and we feel, arey, so much I am advancing a spiritual life. But we need to understand, what am I doing in the balanced time? I have every day, I've got 24 hours at my disposal. 24 hours, each into 60. So that many minutes I have got. What part of that am I engaged in this? Karma, activity which generates a material body. Do a self-assessment. So what do you think? We can continue to do whatever I am doing, and at the end of this life, like they write in obituary, achieved Vaikuntha. We don't know. It depends on what he did in the life. Or people write, sometimes they write what? Swargavas. Swargavas is now synonym of death, actually. Swargavas doesn't mean that, okay, now he's gone to Swarg, irrespective of what he did in his life or she did in life. So, we must become very, very conscious. Karma, material activities that I do, in the balance of those 24 hours, it is building our
Next body.
So please be conscious of that fact. So that's why Prabhupada didn't say, very intelligently he kept the name of this society, International Society for Krishna Consciousness. What is our consciousness? What is the quality of a consciousness? And because that will determine the quality of the activity, whether it is karma or it is akarma, whether it is a material activity or a spiritual activity, depend on the consciousness that I have while performing that activity. Of course, Bhagavad Gita changes our consciousness. Adibhut, constantly changing physical world.
So the world around us, whatever we see, it's every time it's changing. And Krishna has actually explained in the 7th chapter also, when he was talking about the gross material elements and the subtle material elements. So that is all comprising Adibhut. Then Krishna describes about Adidev. So Adidev, or the universal form. So there is a complete chapter, the universal form of Krishna, chapter number 11, where he'll discuss much more in detail. But here he is telling that the Lord's universal form, which includes all the demigods and their different planets, that form of the Supreme Lord is known as Adidev. So basically, Adi means the Supreme and Dev means the demigod. So amongst all the devatas, among all the demigods, the topmost is the Supreme Lord, and in his form as universal form. then Adi Yagya refers to the Paramatma in every embodied being. So Krishna himself is Adi Yagya. So any Yagya which is performed, actually the ultimate beneficiary of that Yagya is the Supreme Lord Krishna. So that is what is referred here as Adi Yagya. And where does Adi Yagya reside? In the heart of all. So this is how, in just 2 verses, Krishna answers actually 7 questions of Arjuna briefly. And that 8th question, that very, very important question which each one of us has. Death is the final exam. How do I pass that exam? So the passing marks for that exam is remembering Krishna at the time of death. How do I remember Krishna at the time of death? If you want to know the answer, we will be discussing in the next chapter. So the next chapter, the reading assignment is till verse number 20. Looking forward to see all of you for the next session. Thank you all. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Bhagavad Gita as it is ki jai.
Jai.
Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Nirai Gautyamanande.
Hare Hare Krishna. So there is some difficulty with our Zoom. We will try to reconnect. Those of you who have any question or you want to share anything with us, just give us 2 minutes. We are trying to reconnect to our Zoom.
Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare